Good morning, third grade. Hope you are doing well. Today is the last day of new assignments on Google Classroom, which means we won't be giving you any more assignments after today that you have to complete. However, you need to go back and make sure you've done anything that you may have been missing. I have a special guest with me here today. Her name is Luna. Luna, say hi. Luna is, she's domestic short hair, which is a kind of cat. Her hair is not that long. She is 11, and she has been snuggled up with me all morning because Neville snuggled up upstairs. So we're enjoying the girl time. Should we read? I think that's a yes. Okay, so today is Chapter 14, Mr. K and Dr. P. Author's note, and it's written in italics, that's slanted letters. Due to strict rules about confidentiality and to avoid unnecessary embarrassment for those involved, the names of the characters have been omitted from this story. Please don't try to guess. Meaning that what's about to happen may embarrass some of the characters in there, so they kind of are taking their names and changing them. Mr. K headed up the stairs. I wonder if you can figure out who it is. He wore a paper bag over his head. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. All the little brats, as he liked to call them, should be in class, but he wore the paper bag just in case he encountered a stray one. When he reached the third floor, he tripped over the top step and fell onto the landing. I knew I should have cut out some eye holes, he said to himself. His knee hurt, but that was the least of his worries. He got back to his feet and limped up the stairs. Actually, one eye hole would have helped. His left eye was shut tight. His other eye was wide open. The eyebrow was raised in a constant expression of surprise. By counting his steps, he knew when he reached the fourth floor. He felt his way to the door, then knocked. Yes, who's there? Asked Dr. P from the other side. Mr. K did not want to say his name aloud in case anyone was listening. He opened the door and entered. If Dr. P was surprised to see a person with a bag over his head, he didn't show it. He had been trained to keep a straight face, no matter what. Whenever someone came to see him, it was part of his job to act like everything was perfectly normal. Yes, what seems to be the problem, he asked, stroking his beard. Mr. K removed the bag. Yikes, screamed Dr. P, throwing his both hands up in the air. He quickly regained his composure. So why did you come to see me? He asked as he rubbed his beard. Mr. K made noise and pointed to his face. Your face is stuck? Asked Dr. P. Mr. K nodded. Please have a seat. Mr. K sat on the couch. Dr. P came closer to get a better look. He poked a puffed out cheek. Does this hurt? He asked. Mr. K shook his head. How about this? He tugged on the tip of Mr. K's tongue. Again, Mr. K shook his head. Very interesting, said Dr. P. He walked to the bookshelf. He muttered as he tried to find the book he needed. This should do it, he declared, removing a very fat book. He bumped Mr. K on top of the head with it. Oh! Exclaimed Mr. K. Any better? Asked Dr. P. I bit my tongue, said Mr. K without moving his lips. This will be more difficult than I thought, said Dr. P. He returned the book to the shelf, chose a different book, and brought it to his desk. He thumbed through the pages. Cold feet, sticky fingers. Here we are, stuck face. He silently read to himself for a minute or two, and then looked up and asked, Did you have a pet when you were a child? Mr. K nodded. Dr. P looked back at his book and read some more. A cat? Mr. K shook his head. A dog? He nodded. Did you love your dog? Mr. K's head didn't move at all. A tear trickled out of his eye and dripped down his face. Excellent, declared Dr. P. I think we're making real progress. He shut the book, scooted his chair up close, and leaned toward Mr. K. Look into my eyes, he said. With his one eye, Mr. K stared at Dr. P. Dr. P stared back. He held up a gold chain with a green stone attached. He let the stone swing gently back and forth between them. Their faces were so close, the stone kept barely missing their noses. I'm going to take you back to another time and place, said Dr. P. You are just a young boy playing with your dog in the backyard. Your grandmother smiles from the kitchen window. A pie is baking in the oven. You can smell the cinnamon. Mr. K's nose twitched. Now, your grandmother's outside holding the pie. She asked if you want some. Mr. K's tongue remained sticking out. However, it slowly moved from one side of the mouth to the other. Dr. P noticed the breakthrough. But instead of giving you a piece of pie, he said, she smashes it in your face. Mr. K's mouth popped wide open. Then his face snapped back into place. His eyebrow lowered. His eye opened. His cheek unpuffed, and his tongue went back inside where it belonged. Why did she do that to me? He cried. Dr. P handed him a tissue. Mr. K wiped his eyes and then cleaned the imaginary pie off his face. He stood and straightened his suit. You won't tell anybody about this, will you? He asked. Everything that happens inside this office is strictly confidential, said Mr. P. Dr. P assured him. Mr. K left the office feeling dignified as ever. Dr. P leaned back in his chair with his hands behind his head. He felt very satisfied. It's not every day that he gets to help someone as important as Mr. K. Dr. P's tongue was sticking out. His left eyebrow was raised. His right eye was shut tight. And it looked as if he were trying to swallow a tennis ball. Oh, no. Okay. All right, boys and girls, so that was chapter 14 of Wayside School, Beneath the Cloud of Doom. Have a great rest of your day.